we fed 14,212 military, economic and topographical documents into the AXIOM mainframe. We altered exactly one historical variable: the year 476 CE. The Western Roman Empire does not fall. The simulation output for the year 2026 is unlike anything in the recorded database. The map of North America becomes completely unrecognizable. Human civilization reaches a development threshold 3 centuries ahead of our actual timeline. And a language that your textbooks call dead becomes the global language of aviation, finance, and digital code. Initializing timeline render. On September 4th, 476 CE, a 16-year-old boy was forced to remove a crown. His name was Romulus Augustulus. He commanded no functioning army. He signed no laws of consequence. By every documented account, he was a figurehead. A Germanic general named Odoacer led a revolt of unpaid soldiers, the Foederati. They demanded permanent land settlements in Italy as payment for their military service. The boy's father, the Roman commander Orestes, refused. Odoacer's forces won. The boy emperor was deposed. Historians call this the fall of the Western Roman Empire. AXIOM identifies it as something else: a decision point. This revolt was not driven by an ideological desire to destroy Rome. It was a localized land dispute over unpaid wages. AXIOM ran the simulation with one parameter changed. What if Orestes had simply granted the Allied troops settlement rights in northern Italy? Simulation parameters locked. In this timeline, Orestes grants the land in late 475 CE. The immediate effect is mathematical. Odoacer has no grievance. The September 476 uprising never occurs. The Senate in Rome continues to convene. A Western emperor remains on the throne. But preventing a revolt does not fix a dying economy. By 476 CE, the Western Empire's tax base had shrunk by 60% compared to a century prior. Vandal pirates controlled critical Mediterranean trade routes. Agricultural output across Italy had collapsed. Granting the land buys time. It does not buy solvency. In the simulation, the Western Empire survives for an additional 40 to 60 years. But to do so, it transforms. Power migrates from the old Roman aristocracy to Germanic military elites. Men who now hold land, hold loyalty, and hold swords. The traditional Roman legion is formally retired. In its place, a hybrid military apparatus. Heavy Germanic cavalry. Localized Roman standing militias. Armored, fast, and deeply motivated to protect land they now legally own. This hybrid state stabilizes the Italian peninsula. But by 520 CE, the model converges on a second decision point, one far more dangerous than the first. In actual history, the Eastern Roman Empire, governed from Constantinople, survived the 5th century intact. In 527 CE, Emperor Justinian I took the Eastern throne with one documented obsession: reunify the Roman world, reconquer the fallen West. In our real timeline, his wars temporarily retook Italy and North Africa, before losing them again to new invasions that left both regions shattered. Now we advance the simulation under the parameter that the West never fell. A surviving Western Empire is not a power vacuum for Justinian to fill. It is a rival. A heavily armed, independently governed Roman state with its own emperor, its own senate, and a Germanic military machine that has been sharpening itself for 50 years. AXIOM calculates 3 distinct probability branches for 527 CE. Branch 1. 35% probability. Justinian and the Western Emperor negotiate a peaceful reunification through diplomacy and strategic marriage. One empire, one throne, one senate. Branch 2. 41% probability. The two states recognize they are too distinct to merge, but too similar to destroy each other. They form a permanent mutual defense alliance. a bipolar Roman Commonwealth with the Mediterranean sealed as a shared economic zone. Branch 3, 24% probability. A multi-generational civil war between East and West. Both empires destroy themselves from within. Neither survives to see the 7th century. Cross-referencing 4th century diplomatic interaction data between stable Eastern and Western courts, the model weights Branch 2 as the most structurally sound outcome. The Roman Commonwealth timeline is selected. The Mediterranean becomes a closed, defended economic lake, controlled entirely by Rome. Everything we have modeled up to this point, the land grant, the Commonwealth, the sealed Mediterranean, is prologue. What AXIOM generates next changes the development timeline of human civilization by 3 centuries. Fast forward to the simulated year 800 CE. In actual history, Western Europe has fractured into competing kingdoms. Infrastructure has collapsed. Literacy has collapsed. Technological progress has effectively stopped. In the simulation, none of that happens, because the administrative engine of Rome never stopped running. AXIOM calculates that uninterrupted Roman record-keeping produces a compounding acceleration effect on technology. Advanced metallurgy continuously refined. Roman concrete formulations never lost. By the 10th century, European cities are not built of wood and mud. They are stone metropolises with hydraulic systems and mechanized water mills. And here is where the simulation generates a number that stopped the model's output for 0.3 seconds. Primitive steam power. Historically toyed with by Greek engineers in the 1st century, then completely abandoned, finds practical industrial application in Roman mining and naval logistics. By the 11th century, that is 400 years before our actual industrial revolution, but the model must now inject a variable that nearly resets everything. In the 14th century, the bubonic plague reaches a Roman Europe that is more densely populated and more heavily urbanized than anything in our actual timeline. In our real history, the Black Death killed up to half of Europe's population. In a denser Roman Europe, the initial infection vectors are worse. But AXIOM introduces a counter-variable that changes everything. Uninterrupted Roman public health infrastructure. The medical texts of Galen and Hippocrates were never lost. In a continuously governed empire, they were continuously practiced. The simulation projects that a centralized Roman state enforces empire-wide military quarantines with the same logistical precision used to manage its border legions. Combined with functioning urban sewer systems and organized public bathhouses maintained across 15 centuries, AXIOM estimates plague mortality is reduced by 40% compared to our actual timeline. The demographic recovery is fast, far faster than our history. More surviving humans means a larger workforce. A larger workforce means faster innovation. The compounding advantage of the unbroken empire does not just survive the plague, it exits the plague stronger than it entered. Warning to viewer. What AXIOM generates in this segment is the single largest divergence point in the entire simulation. With the Mediterranean locked under Roman control and eastern trade routes blocked by rival caliphates, the Western Roman economy is starving for new resources. In actual history, this exact economic pressure pushed Christopher Columbus to sail west in 1492. In the simulation, with naval technology accelerated by 3 centuries, AXIOM projects a transatlantic crossing occurs between the years 1220 and 1250 CE. The entity that crosses is not a small, privately funded Spanish expedition. It is a massive, state-funded Roman naval fleet. In the imperial logs, the continent is designated Nova Terra. The colonization process is not a chaotic land grab. It is driven by Roman military bureaucracy, the same system that administered provinces from Britain to Egypt. The eastern seaboard of North America becomes an agricultural province engineered to feed the sprawling Roman megacities of Europe. Native populations that survive the initial biological shock are integrated as foederati, auxiliary soldiers serving Roman expansion westward, following a model Rome had used for 600 years. The Mississippi River is engineered with Roman aqueduct and lock systems by the 13th century. The entire gravity of the global economy shifts to the Atlantic. 250 years before our timeline, under a unified Latin banner, the model now extrapolates forward to the present day. The year 2026. There is no United States of America. There is no European Union. There is no NATO. The world is governed by a tripolar superpower structure. The dominant entity is the Nova Roman Commonwealth. Its territory encompasses all of Western Europe, the British Isles, Northern Africa, and the fully industrialized landmass of the Americas, from the Atlantic coast to the Mississippi Administrative Zone. It has evolved from an absolute monarchy into a decentralized global parliamentary system. A Senate, the oldest continuous legislative body in human history, 1,500 years older than any institution alive today. The cities of this world are unlike anything in our timeline. Glass and titanium towers built seamlessly around 2,000-year-old functioning monuments. High-speed magnetic levitation trains running silently through archways modeled on the Colosseum. Because the Industrial Revolution arrived 3 centuries early, this civilization is what scientists classify as a Type 1 civilization, one that harvests and controls all energy available on its home planet. The Roman Senate's space program is operating permanent lunar mining facilities, built on the same logistical doctrines that once paved roads across 3 continents. And Latin, the language your textbooks call dead. It is the active administrative language of global aviation, international finance, and digital code. The empire that built the foundational laws of the Western world did not end with a grand final battle. It did not fracture under the weight of its own size. In this timeline, it never ended at all. Simulation concluded. Divergence timestamp September 4th, 476 CE. Root variable, a land grant never made. Total cascading divergence points logged, 47. Timeline classification, maximum divergence, category 5. What you have witnessed is not fiction. It is a mathematical extrapolation, demonstrating how a single, avoidable wage dispute between a Roman commander and his troops became the hinge point of 15 centuries of cascading consequence. If you want to know which historical decision point AXIOM models next, subscribe. Every simulation goes to subscribers first. Drop your input variable in the comments. The directive with the most support determines the next rendering cycle. AXIOM mainframe entering standby mode. Logging off.